Happy video day, guys. Christina, Brooke here. Today we are going to be diving into a brand new mini from Natasha Denona. So I feel like I just gave you guys this cheese man, like this gossip 2 days ago, was it? Or just like recently, or we just found out about this. Literally, Sephora releases it, early app access, and I picked it up. So it is already here. No make up your mind on this one because, well, it got released too quickly. So I went ahead and just picked it up for you guys. Either way, I was going to buy this anyways because you guys know I have my 1 year buying everything on Natasha Denona. So I was going to pick it up either way. So I didn't wait on it and I went ahead and picked it up. So for today's video, I will be comparing this palette to the midi size bronze. You guys know my thoughts on that if you saw my previous video, but I will be doing some comparisons to it. I will test this out for you guys, give you guys the 411. You guys know I love Natasha Denona. I have almost every single one of her palettes. I have almost every single one of her minis. So I kind of know Natasha Denona's formula. I'll let you know if it lives up to her other palettes. And yeah, lots of stuff in this video. Don't forget to hit subscribe and let's get into it right now. Okay, so let's start off with details. So this is a mini from Natasha Denona. If you are new to Natasha Denona, she tends to do like different size palettes. She has her larger palettes, and she has her midi size palettes, which are like this one. This is a midi size palette, which is this size right here, and then she'll do these mini versions, and usually the mini versions will either be an up-and-coming midi or larger palette, or it'll be based off of one that's existing. So she tends to always do this. So every time we know there's a mini, we know that something else is in the works, either a midi size or a large palette of that mini. So this time she created the mini bronze, which is a play on the midi bronze. Okay, so I have both of them here to show them to you guys. I will compare them for you. The palette is $27 US. You are getting 5 shades in this palette. One of the shades is existing, so if you own the Star palette, it is this shade right here that is existing. Every single other shade is a brand new shade to her line. And as you guys can see, there is 4 mattes and only 1 metallic in here, which is interesting for Natasha. She typically gives us a little bit more of those metallic-y shimmer shades, and in this one, there's only 1. So I've given you guys the details. Now we gotta get into some really important stuff, like the comparisons with the midi bronze. I feel like this is such an important part of this video that I'm gonna include it right now. So let's jump into some swatches of the palette. I'm going to show you guys. Here it is. This is what the palette looks like, and this is it underneath daylight, so you can get a real good idea of the colors you're getting in this palette. But I feel like we need to jump into comparisons with midi bronze, so let's do that right now. So obviously I already created this eye look. I will be including it towards the end of today's video, because if you do own the midi bronze, do you really want to buy this one? Of course, that's completely up to you. I own both of them. I wanted both of them. I probably would have picked this up anyways, just because I felt like this is a nice color story for me. But if you are somebody who does not want to have multiple palettes, you have not that much space in your makeup drawer, do you really want to add this? This is going to be the portion that we will go over that. So let me show you guys the comparison really quickly. So if you guys can see, these are the 2 palettes side by side. There is a very close similarity between the 2. I feel like when Natasha Denona does these minis, we don't know. Either the mini will look absolutely nothing like the midi, example Zendo, or we'll get like literally an identical almost replica of the palette. So I'm gonna go ahead and compare some of these because I do believe that some of these are kind of close. None of these are going to be exact. The undertone has to be different, like she's not gonna give us the same shade, but that doesn't mean that they're not gonna look the same on the lid. I'm gonna jump into the first shade, which is the deeper brown. It's this one right here. So let's see what we can compare that to. I think out of this palette, the closest to this one would be the color Magma, which is this one right here. And I mean, you know, Magma, new palette, right? So this right here is bronze, original palette. That looks almost identical to me, those 2 colors. I don't know. So moving on to the next one. So the next one I feel like is probably the one that's the least close to any of the ones in here, but there's still one. So I'm gonna jump into this color right here, and we're going to compare it to the color Beach right here in this palette. So these are the 2 colors. This is the mini and this is the original. So if you guys can see a little bit of a difference in undertone there. So we'll put the mini on the top and the original on the bottom. See, the thing is that when they're swatched on the arm, they do look so close, even though the shade's not the same in the pan. You got to remember how it's going to translate onto the lid. So this color blended out, it might look the same, just saying. Those look kind of close. Okay, so we're gonna go on to the next one. So the next one is this one here in the center. So we've got this one on this finger, and then right next to it, we're gonna jump into Sundown. Those are the two. Now this one, it looks like the one in the mini palette might be a little bit darker, whereas the one in the original might have a little bit more yellow. So we'll go ahead and swatch it on the arm. This is the new palette. Well, I like that formula. And then this is the older palette. I mean, they're different, but you know, that's kind of close. They're different, but they're close, you know? Then let's grab into the metallic right here. So we're gonna put the metallic on this finger. So there's the metallic from the original, from the mini bronze. And who could we compare that one to? Yeah, wow, okay. Right, doesn't that look like silk? This is the mini right here. This is the original palette. Ooh, that looks kind of close, right? Yeah, that looks pretty close. I mean, and there's just so many. There's also True Copper. Is that closer? True Copper is kind of close. And True Bronze. Let's try True Bronze. Let's see if any of these are closer. True Bronze? No. Yeah, so the two that are the closest are these two right here. You guys can see these two right here are the closest, but I do think Silk is the closest, or if you mix these two together, you probably would create something really, really, really close. I actually think it's closer to True Copper than the other one. So here's True Copper from the original, and here is from the new palette. You know, like in person, these two shades look very similar. I'm gonna leave it as the True Copper, even though, I don't know, they're both kind of similar. All right, so for the last one, this is probably the one that is the least similar to the palette. This here is the original shade in the palette. It's this one, right? So I think it could be the closest to the color Suntan here up on the top, right? Maybe, not even. So here we go. This is the new palette. And then here is the old one. And it's a little bit more brown, but really all the other shades wouldn't match. So that is the closest one. That is actually the most original shade. This one here at the end is the most original shade in the palette. So those are the comparisons. If you guys can see, just looking at this, they are very comparable. I mean, I know that they're new shades. I know they're not identical, but when you put things on the lid and you blend them all together, they will look very similar. So in reality, if you love this palette and you want the mini version of it, this is great because this is a good carry-on version. This is a really good way to be able to have it in a mini form. I actually do like doing that because sometimes when I go on trips, I'll take the minis. I hardly ever take these big palettes, but you can also pop out the shades out of these palettes. So if you are on a budget and you want to just get a Z palette, you could probably just recreate this mini with a Z palette and not have to spend the extra money on a $27 mini. So that is just food for thought. If you were a huge fan of this $65 palette and you didn't want to spend the money on it, I do think she picked like the best shades from the palette and put it in this mini. So it's literally a lot of the looks you could create with this, except for these kind of like cool tones that she has up here, where she kind of left them out. That's the only difference you're gonna do in this palette, is you're gonna be able to go in a cool direction, which you will see in my 5-day challenge that's coming. So those are the comparisons between the two. Verdict is they're literally almost identical. So we were just gonna leave it at that. So comparisons and swatches are done. I think those are very important things for you to know. Let me go ahead and show you guys the eye look, and then I'll tell you my final verdict at the end. All right guys, so we are zoomed in. Let's go ahead and play with an eye look using mini bronze. And it's so funny that I just did my 5-day challenge using the big bronze palette, so the midi bronze, and now I'm using this one. So it's almost like, I don't know, I feel like I've seen all these colors before because they're very similar. I have to say, very similar to colors that I've seen in the bronze, but we will get into comparisons pretty soon. So let's go ahead and let's create a look. So this is my first go at this palette. So this will be initial first thoughts. Let's start off with this shade right here, which is the lightest shade in the palette. And I believe that she said that this color is actually inside of the Star palette. So it is an actual repeat shade. So there's one repeat in here. All right, so let's go ahead and put that Let's put that as the base shade. Get an idea of how flesh tone this is. Does this show up on my light medium skin? And believe it or not, it has a little bit of pigment on my skin tone. I guess you guys can probably see it on the camera. It's not giving off like that much pigment, but you definitely can see a difference of the color between my skin. So I'm happy about that. Sometimes these shades, they literally, I don't even see anything. So I'm happy, like I see something here. So that's good. All right, so I use that as my all over base, and I do think that I can use that even on its own with another shadow and just do an eye look, so that's good to know. This reddish tone color, let's put that, what kind of look do we want to do? I want to use the dark one, so let's do a halo. Let's go here. Let's put that here. Put it in the outer V. I'm actually super interested to see how dark this color is because I was hoping this would be even darker. It's actually kind of light compared to what I thought. I was hoping this would be more cool tone and a little bit deeper. Not exactly what I was hoping for, but let's see if there makes a difference there. It's showing up, so it's definitely adding a little bit of a pop, which is good. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, it is definitely a lot more pigmented than the last color. Like it has a little bit of a richer brown color. Within the same color family, it's showing up a little bit darker on the lids, which is good. So they're not like identical colors, but you know, kind of close. I wish that this was just a little bit richer, a little bit deeper brown. I think it would have been a little better that way, but that's okay. Let's grab into the metallic in here, which is a nice little copper color. And that is giving off pigment, but it wasn't as glimmery shiny as I thought it was going to be. Metallic is a little bit less reflective, but it's still really reflective. I mean, this is Natasha Denona. I mean, compared to her big palettes, you know? This is very pretty, though. We've got 2 more steps to finish off this look. I think what I'm going to do is go into this rich brown. Not as rich as I wanted it to be, but rich enough. Let's go into that one and tight line. The last color, which is this like yellowy, mustardy, brownish color, and let's go ahead and blend out all the edges and smoke out the lower lash line with this color. All right, so I'm also going to just add a little bit of this metallic-y tone. I'm just gonna add it a little bit to the waterline, the inner portion. All right, so that is the eye look, liner, mascara, all that good stuff, cool little lip color, and I'll be right back. All right, guys, so here we go. Here is the final look using the mini bronze. This is what I was able to come up with. I think it came out really, really pretty. I finished off the eyes with Natasha Denona's Macro Tech, the brown liner on the lower lash line, Rare Beauty's mascara, and my lips is the new lipsticks from Rare Beauty, which I've been testing out. They taste like vitamins. But they're very pretty. So that's what I have on my lips today. It's the color Fun, and that's how the look came to be. So I'm gonna go ahead and zoom out, give you guys my final verdict. All right, so you guys saw the eye look and how this came to be, and let's get into my final thoughts on this palette, okay? So you guys know I do love Natasha's formula. I think she has a very consistently beautiful formula, and this palette does not stray away from that. I feel like the mattes in here are the stars, to be honest, and that usually is not the case. I think her metallics usually are pretty much the stars of palettes. Like, her metallics are just so creamy and amazing. The metallic in here is really, really nice. It's a pretty metallic. It's not as creamy as the Circo Loco metallics, which I think that those were some of her best metallics, but it is definitely consistent with a lot of the other metallics in most of her palettes. I think it did a nice vibrancy. It is a coppery shade, so it's not going to be as reflective as maybe the golds or the lighter colors. I think it's pretty. It's definitely a nice metallic, but I think the part of this palette that I like the most is the mattes. I think these mattes blended beautifully. They really did an amazing job. These are reddish tone browns. Sometimes they could blend not great. I mean, in some palettes I've tried, reddish browns don't blend as good. I think that this did a great job. Same formula that I saw in the bronze palette, and you know, I had a really nice time using this for my 5-day challenge, which you guys are going to see coming up. But but I do think that it had a really consistent formula to the bronze. Like, these are literally very consistent formulas to each other. I do like color selection. However, I do still feel like this brown should have been a really deep, dark brown. I actually really like this color a lot more than I thought I would. It shows up on my lid pretty nice. This is actually a really nice taupey with a little bit of yellow blending shade. I think that this was a really nice palette. So I do think this is a really nice palette. I think this is marketed more towards anybody who does not have the bronze palette and wants to jump into Natasha Denona, maybe doesn't want to invest in the more expensive palettes. This is a great way to really kind of get like the best of all of the worlds of the bronze palette, to be honest. The bronze ended up being a lot of like metallics that were very close in color, which you guys will see coming. And also when it comes to the mattes, you're basically getting 4 of them, and that's basically almost all the mattes in here. So I would say, I would go out on a limb and say that this is probably actually going to be a really nice addition to anybody's collection, because I do think that it has a lot of really good colors in it. So anyways, that is my thoughts. I think it's a really nice mini. I do like it a lot. I do think that it's going to be up to you guys whether you think it's worth it if you own the midi bronze. I would venture to say no, it's not worth it unless you want a travel companion. Then I think it is worth it. But if you don't own any of Natasha's palettes, or if you wanted the midi bronze, I would even say don't get the midi bronze, get the mini, because you're getting like a lot of the really good shades just in one small palette. So that's my thoughts. So anyways, I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.